September 1868. My legs were sore from my toes to my calves, and after days of arduous trekking over tough terrain, we arrived in Aizu to reunite with the Shinsengumi. Hi, Hajime. It's been a hot minute.
Wait, you're telling me that Commander Hijikata set out for Sendai?
Oh, that's right, because Hajime stayed behind with Aizu. Like, and back on the road we go again.
Indeed. I fear that you have just missed him.
Oh. Once more, someone nibbled on his lower lip. We had the worst luck, guys. He was clearly frustrated. All of us were, really. It felt like we'd wasted so much time. We encountered Okita and Heisuke, who saved us from a pack of furies on our way here.
You encountered Soji and Heisuke?
My news visibly struck an emotional nerve with Saito, whose eyes dropped to the floor. Every time, he's like, my friend Soji? From what we'd heard, Aizu is being ravaged by constant battling. So, why are you still here, Saito? Saito was one of Hijikata's most devoted and hard-working understudies. It made it all the more surprising that he hadn't chosen to accompany Hijikata on his way to Sendai.
The commander and rank of soldiers are meeting with officials in Sendai in hopes of convincing them to join our campaign in Aizu. I had suggested to him that I can maintain the chain of command while he embarked on his trip. Beyond this, I have loyalties to Lord Aizu, which would make leaving him untenable at this time.
A fiery conviction burned in Saito's blue eyes. I saw in his the same glint as Kondo and Harada's moments before we parted ways. Before I knew their lives were forfeit. I'm like, yeah. Now every time one of the guys shows up, I'm like, please don't die in 2 minutes. Like,
Yukimura, Soma, Nomura. What last I'd heard, the three of you were accompanying the chief.
Without missing a beat, Soma shut his eyes. Saito thinned his eyes curiously to this gesture.
Forgive me. I wasn't strong enough to save the chief. I couldn't convince him not to stay behind.
I see. For the briefest of seconds, a melancholy twinkle shined in the corner of Saito's bright eyes. He immediately caught on to this moment of sentimentality and composed himself hastily. I still love, consistently throughout all these I think I say it like every time, but I love how easily Chizuru just reads Saito's emotional state. No matter what route she's on, he's always like... To everybody else, they're like, man, I can't read Saito. He's just like a blank page. He keeps himself together very well. And she just picks up on all these little nuances of emotions every time. Oh, my stoic boy.
I implore you to notify the commander and tell him everything you have just told me. Leave at dawn. That is an order. Tomorrow the Imperial Army will be at our doorstep.
Wait a minute! Let us fight with you guys! We also owe a lot to the Lord of Aizu! Before Nomura could finish, however, Saito shot a contemptuous glare at Nomura faster than an arrow released from a longbow.
Have either of you made peace with yourselves enough to give your life for Lord Aizu?
Of course! We're still warriors of the Shinsengumi, after all!
There is no victory to be found on the ashes of Aizu. This land is a graveyard. For the Shinsengumi, the Makoto flag is a symbol. It is far too early for you to shoulder that burden. Locate the commander, and he will bestow upon you a purpose befitting your character. A purpose?
Soma repeated Saito's words, which struck me as a sign that they had resonated strongly with him. These two boys, they just want to help. Everyone's like, you guys are no use here. You're just gonna die, and that's pointless. After their conversation had ended, zoom, I observed Soma taking a stroll that led him outside of the Aizu camp's enclosure. Probably means he's gonna have a bloodlust episode. Curiosity got the better of me, so I followed him. I feared that he had fallen into another malaise. A light drizzle began to patter the top of my head, prompting the crickets to chirp around me loudly. I found Soma glancing up toward the sky, which glowed with a beautiful patchwork of stars. "What are you staring at?" I asked him amiably, and he gradually turned over to look at me.
The North Star. It's supposed to be a place marker.
Place marker?
Yes. Whereas other stars sometimes shift in place, it does not. It is unmoving, eternal. In ancient times, travelers relied upon the North Star as a beacon, a symbol of sorts. After hearing what Saito had to say, it got me thinking.
As I had thought, Sayato's insightful revelation resonated strongly with Soma, and I felt happy listening to his candid musings.
For so long, I had aspired to become a true warrior, and so I joined the Shinsengumi. Saito got me thinking back there about what my place marker is. That is, my sense of purpose. He forced me to question whether or not I'd be comfortable dying, here and now.
Then Soma tenderly reached his hand over to the sword resting on his hip.
For now, my purpose is to deliver this sword to Commander Hijikata. In addition to, of course, carrying on the legacy of those who've left us. Chief, Inoue, Yamazaki, and now Harada. It got me to realize that I can't die, not yet at least. Until I carry out this mission, I'll have no way of knowing what my true purpose in life is. So, it's up to us to find Commander Hijikata as quickly as possible to get to the bottom of it. Once all of us are back together, then there's no doubt in my mind that I'll figure it out.
Soma. Only yesterday I thought Soma had succumbed to his despair, so hearing him speak so optimistically about the future was a sign of tremendous growth. Hear, hear. He no longer seemed burdened by survivor's guilt, unfettered by his self-imposed emotional exile. At last, he saw the worth in himself that I'd seen in him all along. As a mentor, and as a friend, and I'm still not sure how they're gonna get like a romance in here. We're running out of time, guys. I beamed with pride, and it inspired a similar will to live in myself. Well, that's good. I admire your strength, Soma.
Well, I wouldn't have done it without you, Miss Yukimura. To tell you the truth, it's all because of you.
Me?
Yeah. Even in my darkest moments, you reached inside my heart and gave me hope when I needed it most. Without your insight, I never could have reached these conclusions. Spending time with you every day got me to realize something else, too.
Go on.
I can't afford to keep one foot in the past.
Aw, Soma. I felt endeared to his words of gratitude, which filled my chest with indelible warmth. If my words were enough to lift his spirits in times of distress, then I was beginning to identify what my purpose in all of this had been, giving me a kind of fulfillment that I'd been missing for ages. Yay, found purpose.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been going overboard talking about myself, haven't I? Miss, aren't you bored listening to me?
I had to choose my response carefully. How do I say yes without saying yes? I mean, saying tell me more is an invitation and shows that you have been interested up to this point and would continue to be interested. So please, continue. Speaking with you is one of my favorite things, Soma. Tell me more about how you feel. Yeah. I got you, man.
Really? I'm not a great speaker, though. I've got a terrible memory, to tell you the truth.
You think so? I find your presence quite calming, and you're considerate of others.
What? You've got me mistaken. Everyone has their faults, of course. Besides, between you and me, before joining the Shinsengumi, I'd never spoken with a girl just one-on-one.
What's so bad about that? That has no real bearing on anything, does it?
Oh, you're right. Silly me, what am I even saying? Please, forget I said anything. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
He tried to like broach it, and she's like, huh? But I'm just one of the guys. She friend-zoned herself, Chizuru. Or mentor-zoned? I don't know. Although Soma was quick to dismiss the subject, there was no way I could forget what he said. Something compelled me to look into his weary eyes, which glowed gorgeously under the night sky. Yeah? You're not gonna go any further into that? Is this the first time she's like, you know, Kazue's got some pretty nice eyes too. I'm always looking at Sayato's, but Kazue's got some nice eyes too. We should head back to camp soon, right? We've got an early start tomorrow morning. Soma?
It's nothing. Please feel free to go on without me.
I know you're having a bloodlust episode. I immediately thought something was up as his eyes sunk into his increasingly pale face. Is it bloodlust? The hair is just like, yes.
Leave me. It'll be okay. I only need a moment to gather myself.
In response, I chose to. As his bout of bloodlust intensified, I realized that giving my blood was the only real deterrent. Don't argue with me. I unsheathed my Kadachi and watched the blood thicken around the incision I had made across the length of my palm.
Miss Yukimura.
Oh, gosh! Man, she just had to look into his gorgeous eyes, and then she's like, drink me, take me in. Oh no, Chizuru. Oh my goodness. Chizuru is ridiculous. Okay. Soma, drink me. Take me in. Soma convulsed in front of me, shutting his eyes while he hesitated whether or not to accept. Look, it's not every day a girl's gonna tell you that. You act. Finally, he relented and moved behind me as he began lapping on my blood-drenched hand.
Miss Yukimura.
What is it, Soma?
If it were someone else in my position, who was suffering my symptoms, would you have done the same thing and offered yourself to them?
She's probably gonna say no, but we all know it's a big fat lie because we are on route number 10? Or something like that. Huh?
Nothing.
Aw, he wants to be special. Poor Soma. I'm sorry, man, but honestly, she would've. As his tongue raced up and down my cut to catch every drop of blood before it fell. I pondered Soma's question to myself curiously, though he never quite clarified what he'd meant. Yes, much to ponder after that night, much to ponder. We awoke on soft futons nestled in a warm tent. Words of farewell were delivered somberly as Saito saw us off at the crack of dawn. I grew teary-eyed, realizing that it could be the last time any of us spoke to Saito again. With this thought at the forefront of my mind, I struggled to think of a meaningful goodbye. Ugh. Soma and Nomura, too, were awkwardly silent. Thankfully for us, Saito was a man of few words and took the initiative in bidding us farewell.
If you are successful in your endeavor to reunite with the commander, send him my regards. I shall pray for your safety.
It was obvious that Soma was holding back more than he had been letting on and was gritting his teeth to restrain himself. My eyes darted between Soma and Saito until...
Will do, sir. In return, please send my regards to Lord Aizu and the other members of his domain. More than anything, please be safe, Saito.
Thanks for everything you've done, sir. I wish I could have done more in return.
Until next time, right, Saito?
Yes. What a lovely thought.
Hajime, no! Yeah, I'm getting the feels for every other guy in this route, and it's just like, man, my heart. I hadn't wanted Saito to see my eyes welling up with tears, so I gazed off toward the horizon, like he taught me to do. With that, the three of us bowed in succession and began walking towards Sendai. While there was no guarantee that it would be our last time seeing Saito, having said our fair share of final goodbyes over these past few weeks had left us several times bitten and more broken than shy. Oof. What a line. As we hiked over a steep hilltop, Soma, Nomura, and I reached an unpaved road, and soon... Ah!
Duck, miss!
Not a goose. Soma reached out to grab my arm and yanked me low to the ground in the nick of time. Whew! Thanks, man. Cannon fire roared in the distance, rumbling us as we laid our bodies upon the coarse earth.
Man, the Imperial Army's doing a real number on Aizu.
Fear welled up inside of me. My initial instinct was to worry about Saito, and I questioned whether or not leaving him behind was the correct decision after all.
Let's get to Sendai. According to Saito, Commander Hichikata is gathering a crew of reinforcements there.
Aye.
As the bombast of cannon fire echoed around us, we continued down the trail, taking every other step to steady ourselves as the ground felt ready to split in two and swallow us whole. You know, I'm shocked that we haven't seen more Miki in this route. Look, it's not just because I miss my boy. But I'm going to be real disappointed if... I mean, I have to have respect for Amagiri in that he's quite capable of defeating Miki, absolutely. But I'm going to be disappointed if they gave him that awesome new look and he only showed up for like 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to say. I just hope he comes back. Also, Kazuma has not shown up, and he was like a real pain in the booty in the first part of this route. Like, yo, Chikage, where you at? I guess they had to make time for all these deaths for all the other Shinsengumi members, so hopefully we'll get some more of those guys at some point. By the next day, we had finally arrived in Sendai and reunited with Hichikata after partaking in a wild goose chase of monumental proportions. You can say that again.
Negotiations with the Sendai domain have stalled.
They have. Looks like the Imperial Army spooked the hell out of them. Can't say I blame them.
What? But, sir, what about our men fighting in Aizu?
Without any hope of reinforcements to back the shogunate loyalists in Aizu, the Imperial Army would likely plow through their camp in hours. Which, for Saito and the rest of his men, spelled almost certain death.
God damn it! Everything's gone to hell! This is bullshit. Just when you think you can trust people, they turn on you at the last second.
Shut your mouth, Nomura. For once in your life, look around you before you speak. So long as the negotiations are at a deadlock, we've got our thumbs up our asses out here. Let's head back to the inn I'm staying at.
Damn. Toshi got no time for this. With Hijikata as our guide, we navigated through Sendai, unable to avoid the stares from townsfolk who were put at unease from our presence. Hijikata set us down at the inn, and Soma was the first to brief him on all that had happened.
First things first, sir. I must apologize. You entrusted me with the duty of protecting Chief's life, but I wasn't strong enough to see out that mission successfully.
For a split second, sorrow appeared in Hijikata's eyes as if Soma's mention had reawakened his grief, but he just as quickly shrugged it off.
Understood.
For the most part, this wasn't news to Hijikata. He nodded, keeping his feelings to himself.
Please accept this gift. It comes from the chief himself, who made us promise to deliver it to you.
From Kondo?
Yes, sir. It is the Shinkai Inoue. He described it as a symbol of the Shinsengumi's revival.
Hijikata grabbed a hold of the sword, entering a state of deep thought as he scanned the blade. After rolling it in his hands, he faced Soma.
Say, kid, why don't you hold on to this for a while?
Huh? But...
My experience with the Shinsengumi is rooted to my relationship to Kondo. Even if you were to tell me otherwise, his and my moment with it has passed. Now it's time for someone else to define what it means to them.
Understood, sir.
Soma stared intently at Hijikata, giving tender consideration to his words as Hijikata handed the sword back to him. I was wondering if, when we got here, Toshi's going to be like, no, what this meant to Kondo and I is past. Like, it's your turn, basically. Since we know that Soma is going to become the new chief, after all.
Oh, and there's something else we've got to tell you, sir. Before we left Edo, we happened across Harada.
Harada?
Yes, sir. He was temporarily serving as a member of the Shogi Company, but when we needed someone to help us escape Edo, he offered himself as a distraction.
Hijikata let out a heavy, pained sigh. Aw, Toshi.
Huh. Not Harada, too.
After stewing in silence, Hijikata looked up at us.
Well, if we're sharing bad news, then there's something else you guys should know, too.
His preface was damning, to say the least. All of us braced ourselves around the table in anticipation. He took in a deep breath and broke the news.
I received a letter from Dr. Matsumoto not too long ago. In it, he told me Soji passed away.
Okita!
Afraid so. Sanan and Heisuke, too. They gave their lives fighting against some new furies under the Imperial Army, courtesy of that bastard Kodo.
So Soji and Heisuke lived after that fight. Man, mad lads. Heisuke must have had a hell of a time getting Soji back to Dr. Matsumoto. And then he died anyway. Oh, Soji. And then Sanan and Heisuke too. Gave their lives. Sanan wasn't a suspicious person this time. Not a quadruple agent. Oh, no. No! I was beginning to feel nauseous, like all of my happiness had left me and was certain never to return. I nearly fainted from delirium. I feel you, girl. As I fell to the ground, I slammed my palm to the floor and tried to support myself up. Okita, Sanan, and Heisuke had all lost their lives fighting in this unnecessary war. Knowing, too, that it was my father's doing was enough to send me into a downward spiral.
Are you okay, miss?
Yes. Don't worry about me. I'll be alright. Then Soma posed another question at Hijikata.
Do you happen to know if, when they met Kodo's new batch of Furies, Saburo Miki was involved.
I don't have all of the details. If he were there, then I'm certain Sanan or one of the others would have noticed him.
Well, Heisuke definitely would have, because they used to work together.
I see.
Eventually, Hijikata straightened his posture and cleared his throat, looking at each of us individually before continuing on.
As it stands, I plan on sailing what remains of our troops over to the land of Ezo.
Ezo?
Ezo was a remote, snowy wasteland located on the northernmost tip of our country.
A defeat in Ezo means the end for all of us. If that's not something you have any interest in, then I don't blame you in the slight...
Just as Hijikata braced himself for disappointment.
Of course I'm heading with you!
Both of them practically spat the words out of their mouths, answering in total confidence.
You guys...
Man, would it kill you to smile, Commander Hijikata? What the heck do you think we came all the way out here for?
Our lives stopped belonging to us years ago. As of now, we are Shinsengumi warriors.
I could have sworn I saw Hijikata's eyes flutter. Perhaps because a solitary tear was ready to escape his eyes duct, but... Oh, it's too accurate, though. After a quick series of blinks, it disappeared. Keep it together, Toshi.
God damn it, boys. If you refused me, you probably could have lived a decent life out there.
It was a harsh reality, one we had all considered. But Hijikata smiled wryly, glancing at the two of them with immense pride in his eyes. All of a sudden, he turned to look at me.
And what are you going to do, Yukimura?
At first, I felt too hesitant to answer. All this time, my only focus was on reuniting Hijikata with Soma and Nomura. But now that our journey had met its conclusion, I felt as though I'd used up all of my time and goodwill with them. But parting ways with them meant leaving. Yeah. Do you get it, girl? I think she got it. I think those gorgeous eyes in the moonlight finally got to her, and she's like, maybe I like him more than as a friend. Soma. My North Star! Stop. That is too precious. Oh my gosh, that is adorable. The shining light around which my emotions formed vivid constellations. Yes, please continue. I realized that night that I was falling for him. It totally was. Up until that moment when the stars glowed in his gorgeous eyes, she had no idea. And then she's like, wait a minute. Oh, that's awesome. I wanted, more than anything, to be the beacon that inspired and encouraged him in times of need. Part of me felt like I was already halfway there. Is it this part? You're 80% there. Yeah, accurate. But would Hijikata entertain my desire? Alright, just take that completely out of context. Oh, Chizuru. Or, like I had feared, had I simply become a burden that had no place in the story they were building. Dang. No, obviously. We're going. What in the world was I contemplating for? I looked Hijikata directly in the eye. Please let me join you. I still feel a part of this too, and I don't think I could say goodbye to Soma and Nomura just yet. Please. I split my heart out in front of them, bowing my head in the hope that it would flatter Hijikata. Girl, ain't nothing flatter this boy. Only one of them had the butterfly land on his moon of a heart, though, at her words.
Commander Hijikata, I must agree.
Me too, sir. After all she's done, it just wouldn't feel right letting her leave us.
Aw, you boys.
You know, I never said that we're letting her go, you guys.
Aw.
But you've got guts, kid. You're either really brave or a goddamn fool.
I think you're starting to rub off on me. Zing, zing, zing.